Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So Jasmine Crockett was going to start off my show anyway because she's in a back and forth with the Attorney General Pam Bondi over whether or not she's inciting violence or whether or not she's encouraging these Tesla attacks. But she said something even crazier that was going viral today, right before the James Show started, where she was talking about your governor, Greg Abbott, who you're probably aware of this, has been in a wheelchair since he was 26. He had an accident where he was jogging and a tree fell on him, broke his back. And so we've all known that he's been in a wheelchair this whole time. But a lot of people are saying this is beyond the pale. This is completely inappropriate for a sitting congressman to refer to him as Hot Wheels.
Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
So I don't think the term Hot Wheels itself is always going to be derogatory or negative. I have a confession to make. I have referred to him as Hot Wheels before, maybe even on the show. I don't know if that doesn't sound like something I would say on air. But I had a previous producer on a previous iteration. The guy who's my producer when I was doing the show in Waco. He called him Hot Wheels, but it was out of a term of endearment. You know, we actually see this guy that's in a wheelchair, and we're not making fun of him for it. It's just kind of a distinctive feature, just as you would call someone who has red hair a carrot top, or it's just as you would call someone, I don't know, maybe if you had a friend with one arm, you'd call him Stubby just for fun. But it wasn't hateful like this, and I think that makes all the difference. And, you know, the cussing, probably not the best look for a sitting congresswoman. But again, I say cuss words on a regular basis. She said the A word twice. They're well within the bounds of the FCC, so don't at me. Don't file a complaint with anyone. It is kind of ugly, though. Do you think that's inappropriate, what you just heard? Because she didn't say it out of place of nicety. She was bringing up his disability in an insulting fashion. So does that make all the difference in the world? Yeah, I think so. Okay, now let me get to what I was going to play for you out of Jasmine Crockett. Anyway, before she said that, now she's part of this movement now called the Tesla Takedown. They had a group call. There's going to be a Tesla Takedown national protest coming up on March 29th. So this weekend, they're all supposed to go out and demonstrate. Now, the concern that you and I have is this going to be a coordinated episode where things strangely just manage to set themselves on fire? So are we coordinating more terrorist attacks, more violence, intimidation, property destruction for a political cause? Or are we really, we're just trying to take down his stock price? Which one is it? All right, so let me play you the soundbite, which already had her with a little extra attention. This was from the Take Elon Down group chat. They did some kind of call together. It was on video.
So I'll make sure that I keep it short, but I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes. Listen, I have learned as I serve on the Doge Oversight Committee that there is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now. And that language is money.
So I can see why if you wanted to take that out of context, you could say this is a call for violence. But she does say right after that, this is all about money. However, I will grant you this. If Ted Cruz had said that about her, if Donald Trump had said that about her, or Kamala Harris, or anyone perceived to be on Team Red had said that to be about anybody perceived to be on Team Blue, it most certainly would be taken out of context, and there would be cowering and concern and comparisons to literally Hitler, because this is another call to violence from Team Red, and they've got to be stopped, and this is white rural rage, and this is right-wing death squads, and I was playing all the hyperbolic audio on yesterday's show if you missed it. So Pam Bondi responded to that, saying this whole language from Jasmine Crockett, she's on the border of illegal. and inciting violence with that.
Now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country, and it's this basic safety.
Okay, by the letter of what she said, if you take what she said literally, she was not calling for violence against Elon. But I want you to just go ahead and imagine if this was 10 years ago and, the parties were on the different side of the Tesla divide, when Elon Musk was seen as a staunch Team Blue, when he was seen as the savior with the most green company the world has ever known. And there were a bunch of angry right-wingers that would run around torching Tesla facilities and burning auto dealerships and burning charging stations and burning Cybertrucks and different cars and spray painting swastikas and scratching them and doing the keying and whatnot. And then you had Donald Trump go out there and be like, yeah, we need to take this guy down. You damn sure they would have put that together as this is an incitement to violence. They have been incited to violence. Because it feels weird having the discussion right now. Well, is she inciting violence? Well, someone is, because Teslas keep catching on fire. And how disgusting is it that they get away with this? Well, I don't think anybody should necessarily have handcuffs on them and thrown to jail. I just think we need to get the word out, because any rational mind, any person who is capable of independent critical thought will notice the discrepancies here. And notice that, well, when Elon was on Team Blue, Teslas weren't setting themselves on fire. Now they are, that he's perceived to be on Team Red. Clearly one side is more violent than the other. Clearly one side has a screw loose more so than the other side. Clearly, I would prefer to associate myself with the more peaceful, non-feral side of the political spectrum. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Do these words, whether it's the Hot Wheels or the take down Elon, does this count as a call to violence, a call to vandalism, a call to terrorism? We'll talk about it next with Jerry Reynolds, host of the Car Pro on WBAP. He's got some strong warnings for people who are making these Tesla attacks. Also tonight, Plano Sports Tavern. It's the next James Show listener meetup. Tonight, 7 o'clock, Parker and Custer will hang out for a couple hours. If you want to hang out after that and maybe do karaoke or something, you're welcome to do that. But come out, meet me. Your phone knows where it's at. It's tonight, Plano Sports Tavern, 7 p.m., Parker and Custer. 800-288-9227 if you want to jump in. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. What's going on with all these Tesla attacks? One thing I'm enjoying about these is we're getting a lot of good angles on the vandals. My next guest, Jerry Reynolds from the Car Pro Show, is coming on. Jerry, what a great cinematography the Tesla company has provided us with all the security cameras. Are they just recording at all times, or is this a certain mode you have to put it into? What's going on there?
It's called Sentry Mode, and every Tesla has it. And an owner, when they get ready to leave their car, if there's a little toggle switch on the screen on the car, if that stays on every time they lock their car, the cameras, and there's 7 of them, will roll and get footage from every different angle. And they do a great job. I mean, some of the pictures that I'm seeing that's coming off these Teslas right now really shows who's doing the damage. And it's so stupid of these people to think that they're going to get away with this. And why would you damage somebody's car anyway? I mean, do they think that they're hurting Elon Musk?
Well, they think they're fighting Hitler. They think they're fighting Hitler. It's a virtue signal, and there's a certain level of discomfort and anger that these people live under, and it must be terrible. But I only have one camera on my car. Look, I'm kind of poor, so I have a 10-year-old car, and it's my first car with the backup camera. And Jerry, I thought I was living in the space age. It's like, you mean I don't even have to turn all the way around the whole time I'm backing up? This is great. So now I can't wait to step up and get the 7-camera system going.
Man, I'll tell you what, cameras today, especially those backup cameras, have gotten so good. Every car that I review, I look at the clarity of the backup camera, and with rare exception, they are fantastic. But these Tesla cameras are really, really good, high resolution, and they don't roll all the time. It only activates when somebody gets near the car. So when you get back in your car, something's been filmed. Somebody has been by your car, and you better take a look around it.
Now, do you have a Tesla, or have you been in a Tesla? How do you know all this?
I have driven Teslas. I do not have one. I
Plural.
do have an electric car. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many Teslas have you driven? Have you been in the Cybertruck?
No, I have not been in the Cybertruck. I've been in its competition, the Rivian and the Ford Lightning and the GMC Hummer, but I've never had the Cybertruck, although I would take one if they offered it. Teslas are great. I mean, if you want electric, they're terrific, and why people want to harm them is still beyond me. They think they're getting back at Elon, and they think they're getting back at the company, but if they'll do a little bit of research first about the cameras, because they're going to be on the news, and secondly, Elon owns 12.8% of Tesla. That's it. So they're hurting a lot of other people, and probably including themselves if they have a 401k. It's crazy, James. I never thought I'd see this day in the United States.
Well, I have never been in a Tesla. I have a couple of friends that have them and tell me about it, so I only have secondhand knowledge. And they tell me about other modes that my 10-year-old car doesn't have, like campfire mode. Like, what are we setting a campfire in a car? That doesn't make any sense.
No, but they're so technologically advanced. You got to hand it to them. And I'm thankful for Tesla from the standpoint that they brought this whole electric car conversation to the United States, and that conversation needed to be had. Is it going to be widespread, or is everybody going to go electric? No, not ever. I predicted years ago that electric cars would top out at about 10% of the total cars sold in America. Last year, 2024, they ended up a little over 8%, and that number's actually sliding. It's going down instead of up. So I was overeager with my prediction, but if you've got the right commute, electric cars are great. I have one. I just leased myself for a personal car, a BMW electric. It's 100% electric, and I absolutely love the car.
But these are people with short commutes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you've got, most of the range right now is around 250 miles. So if you've got a 25 or 30 mile per day round trip commute, you can go all week long without ever going to a gas station. And I always tell my listeners there on WBAP, James, if you're going to have an electric car or even a plug-in hybrid, get a home charger. It makes all the difference in the world. I charged mine yesterday. Came into the garage, it was 50% charged. I had roughly 160 miles of range, and I wasn't going anywhere, but why not charge it? Why not just get it to 100%? And that's what I do. It's so simple.
All right, what's going on the Car Pro Show this weekend, Jerry?
It's a big time. It's the last weekend of the month. It's the last weekend of the quarter. All the Japanese car companies are ending their fiscal year Monday. And boy, it's truck month in Texas. If people are in the market for a truck, the incentives are just so good right now. But it all ends Monday night. We'll see what happens after that.
All right, Jerry Reynolds, how do they find you online?
Go to carpro.com and you can take a look at all my car reviews. I review about 100 a year. And you can look at my FAQ page and the latest news in the automotive world.
Well, there he is, Dallas broadcasting legend now, Jerry Reynolds from the Car Pro Show. Thank you very much, sir.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, I have never even been inside of a Tesla, strangely enough. But I do have like a close friend of mine. His sister has a Tesla. And if I go to his house in the summer and she's there, you can hear the fan going. It's not on. It's just in the driveway. It has to zzz. It just runs at all times because it'll catch fire if it gets above 100 or something degrees out there. And I thought that was that seems kind of a demerit if you're going to live down here where it's 1,000 degrees for 4 months a year. 800-288-9227 if you want to jump in, because the big question is, are these calls to take down Tesla, are these calls for terrorism? Are these calls for vandalism? Because that seems to be what's happening there. And then if so, what do we do about it? And what do you think about your congresswoman here from Dallas, Jasmine Crockett, referring to your governor as Hot Wheels? A lot of people are saying that's out of pocket for a sitting member of Congress. What do you think? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, sports fans. Are you enjoying the hot part of basketball season? Because right now we're in the middle of the big March tournament, down to the Sweet 16. Things are ramping up for the pros, getting ready for the playoffs. And you want to hear what I did last night? Won $60. How to do that? Well, I went to Prize Picks app and I did the big number. They have, usually you go look at a statistic, you pick more or less. But I've been on this kick now where I look at the combo statistics. When they add up the points, rebounds, and assists, they had Giannis Antetokounmpo at 51.5 if you add them all up. I thought that was a little high, so I picked less than. He only got 46. I did the same thing for Russell Westbrook yesterday. His big number was 32.5. I picked less. He got 29. Boom! I made a lineup of 2 to 6 people. I could have won up to 1,000 times my money, but I ended up winning $60. That's fine. I had a little bit of extra fun with the sports that I'm already enjoying, and you can too, and do it with the money that we give you. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP. You get $50 with your first $5 play. Download Prize Picks, promo code WBAP. Get $50 with your first $5 game. I'm James Parker for Prize Picks. Run your game. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Jasmine Crockett's in the news again for encouraging the Tesla takedown movement, which a lot of people are seeing as delving over the boundary into terrorism. And then also for this comment she made, I just saw this today. It might have been this morning, might have been yesterday, but she called Governor Abbott Hot Wheels here. And a lot of people are saying this is wrong.
Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
So a lot of people are saying that is inappropriate for a sitting Congress member. And look, if you make a reference to someone's disability, it's not inherently negative, but that obviously was intended to be negative. So how do you feel about that? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I don't think it's a fireable offense. I don't think she should be impeached. I don't think she should be ostracized from public life, but I think it should give all of her voters a little bit of a pause on whether or not they're voting for the right person. It should also give everyone else a little bit of pause next time they accuse Donald Trump of inciting violence or terrorism or misogyny or hatred or bigotry or not being inclusive enough. Can the look, I'm being a little magnanimous. I'm giving a little space here. Can that generosity, can that grace go both ways? Paul in Prosper, you're on WBAP. What do you think about Jasmine's comments?
Hi, James. Crockett herself is inappropriate and foul, but she's actually a symptom of what's going on with the Democrat Party. Before the election, in any argument, they would raise their voices and interrupt and speak over people because they have no reason. They have no logic to support their policies. After the election, they have had to go in the same direction to extremes, such that their rhetoric now becomes violent and abusive. How in the world can you reason that a man is a woman, or that a violent illegal alien is a valued member of the community? This is where they're heading because they have no other place to go. The American voters are done with them, and they don't know what to do.
Well, I think that's where they're headed because the media gives them such a pass. Remember when Donald Trump made the bloodbath comment on the campaign trail, not even a year ago. In fact, I pulled it just for this occasion here. This is what was called an incitement to violence last year by the same people who are excusing
Mexico
this.
has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the.
So he's using the financial term bloodbath as an investment that only spills red ink. But that was called an incitement to violence less than a year ago, Paul.
That was a total out of context moment. They grasp at any straw they can to accuse him or the other side of anything that resembles inappropriate behavior. But again, the reality cuts through their lies. It has to, and people are tired of it. It's not working anymore, so they're becoming more and more shrill.
Well, also, Paul, I think the effect on public opinion is going to calcify the extreme part of their party. Like, yeah, we do need to take these people down. But there's a lot of moderate Team Blue people who say that I'm not for that, and I see the obvious double standard here, and there's something wrong with that because the other soundbite that's been floating around about Jasmine Crockett that Pam Bondi gets asked about and you see on your social media feed is she was asked about Ted Cruz. I guess this was Was this over the weekend, maybe on Friday, and she was talking about punching him hard?
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. But like it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like this dude has to be knocked over the head like hard, right? Like there is no niceties with him.
Yes, again, they can't argue. The facts don't support them. They will never win a reasoned argument, so they have to go to this extreme. The demagoguery of hatred of the past that has worked so well for them to rile emotions to their support no longer is effective because they've gone too far.
Well, it's effective on some people. I would say it's less effective, but yeah, I like the demagoguery is probably the perfect word for it. We're not basing this on any sort of policy position. This is getting you all emotionally razzed up against your opposition by painting them as evil. Ooh, that's right. Literally Hitler. All right, coming up next. What does a career law enforcement officer see in these statements, see in these actions, see in these Tesla attacks, see in the Tesla takedown movement? From the point of view of a guy who's a retired cop, does he think some of this is criminal behavior? Well, you'll hear from Joe Cardinale next on The James Show. And what do you think? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let me get your thoughts on this Jasmine Crockett soundbite.
Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
Is that appropriate for a sitting member of Congress to refer to your governor's disability in a condescending manner? 800-288-9227. Tana in Red Oak, your thoughts?
Hi, James. I'm a physical therapist, and I do wheelchair seating evaluations for a living. And I think what she said was absolutely ignorant and offensive.
Well,
So what I'd like to do... Oh, go ahead.
does it matter if she's saying, calling him Hot Wheels when she's mentioning the accomplishments and how he's overcome such adversity and, becoming governor made his disability, you forget about it. You forget he's a guy in a wheelchair, because I've actually used that term about him in a positive way. So I'm just trying to figure out, was I out of pocket when I said it?
Well, context and tone mean a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on it too. Well, good. I'm glad you backed me up on that. Anything else I missed?
Yeah. Well, what I'd like is for her constituents who use wheelchairs to visit her office. Show her that you deserve respect. Show her you have dignity. Show her the amazing things you do, and show her how loved you are. Maybe she'll learn something from it.
Yeah, she's not here, though. She's all the way in D.C. most of the time, or going up to New York to be on the big shows. But I appreciate your opinion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Stacy in Fort Worth. You're on the James Show. Your thoughts on Miss Crockett's statements?
Yeah, I agree with the former caller. I think context and the way you say it goes a long way. And I feel like in this situation, she was very condescending and very disrespectful and very offensive. And I just feel like there should be respect and professionalism across the board, regardless of what side you're on.
Right. And it feels like the term that gets used against me all the time, where you're punching down. You can't talk about people who aren't as privileged as you, or as a man, I can't talk about females, or as a white guy, I can't talk about people of color, or as a straight guy, I can't talk about people of different orientations. But does she get a pass on that because of her intersectionality trumps his? It's a weird game they play.
I see a lot of that, actually. I see a lot of back and forth. And when someone said before us, grasping at straws, if they can't find a common thing to attack them on, they just pick insults. I think it's really immature and unprofessional.
Yeah, I mean, I can be really immature sometimes too, but not like that. Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have a good day.
You too. All right, now to my next guest. Joe Cardinale's back on, former lieutenant commander with the NYPD and aspiring politician. I hope he makes it one day, because I love hearing him rip people on Fox News. But Joe Cardinale, how far can her speech go before it crosses a line into criminality? Because she's talked about, wanting to punch Ted Cruz hard. She has spoken in favor of the takedown Tesla movement that's been torching Teslas and their dealerships and all kinds of acts of vandalism and arson. Where is the line between free speech and something that's not free speech anymore?
Well, that depends. I mean, it depends on if you're part of that radical left that she's associated with, where they feel anything goes. Anything they say can go, anything they do can go, and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, Maxine Waters, you see her calling for, going in and getting in people's faces. This is the norm for them right now. And until the Democratic Party starts separating themselves from that and saying, listen, we want to get back to some normalcy here, it's going to continue to happen, because she gets the greasy, wheel is getting all the attention right. The squeaky wheel is getting all the attention right now, and she likes it. I mean, she had a spar with Nancy Mace in Congress, calling her baby girl one day. I mean, it gets to the point where, what is acceptable. I mean, Nancy Mace is, strong with her verbiage too when she's in Congress, but when you cross the line saying things about people that have disabilities, and she did cross the line, she can sugarcoat it all she wants. I mean, and as your caller said, it's how you use the term and everything. But she was doing it to, put a little spin on it for herself, and to attack Ted Cruz. I mean, she couldn't shine his shoes on her best day and him on his worst day. I mean, it's ridiculous that she actually chooses to go after the people that mean the most to Texas.
Joe Cardinale, can I continue with you after the break? Can you hang on? I know we didn't schedule that, but she's talking positive about these Tesla takedown protests. And in 4 days, on March 29th, there's supposed to be a nationwide protests at your local Tesla dealerships. And, it's one thing to not be able to pin things. Now she's talking about a Tesla takedown, and you can say, well, look, they've already been setting dealerships on fire. Well, I wasn't talking about them. But coming up in 4 days, if this movement that she supports, if they actually do commit acts of violence or, terrorism, can she be held accountable? You'll hear from former Lieutenant Commander from the NYPD, Joe Cardinale, next on The James Show. And if you have a hot opinion on that too, 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yeah. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh, my goodness. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. We're continuing with my guest, Joe Cardinale, retired NYPD lieutenant. And we were talking about how some of this rhetoric, some of it, you can support a certain movement. You can support protests against Tesla. But if you're supporting the vandalism or the groups that, have the vandals that are facilitating the vandalism, at what point does that spill over the line into criminality? And if you want to be a part of the conversation, 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Joe Cardinale's continue with me. I know you didn't see this because I just saw this. While we were talking in the last segment, Joe, Jasmine Crockett from her Congresswoman account tweeted a response to her Hot Wheels comment. You ready for this, Joe?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, my goodness. Y'all going to think I'm making this up. She says, I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into the communities led by black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. Literally, the next line I said was that he's a hot A blank blank. She used asterisk to edit herself. Hot A mess. Referencing his terrible policies. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition. So I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged. See, Joe, she wasn't talking, when she said Hot Wheels, she wasn't talking about his wheelchair. She was talking about the planes, trains, and automobiles transferring illegal immigrants, not back to their home countries, but to sanctuary cities. Do you buy that, Joe?
Not at all.
No, not for 5 seconds.
Here's the thing where she's throwing something at the fan and it came back and it hit her in the face a little bit. And she turns around and says, well, I have to clean this up a little bit. So she has time to think about it. And she has a powwow with the people around her and say, well, how can we clean this up? This is what you really meant. We know what she really meant. All right. She's, made innuendos before. And that's the dangerous part. They get to pick and choose when they want to say something, no matter what it is that they say, whether it be something that fuels the fire on the Tesla dealers, literally, all right, or if it's anything that's politically motivated, which everything is today. But you and I have had the discussion before about freedom of speech, all right, and at what level, at what time do you turn around and turn it down, or at what point do you say enough is enough and hold people accountable for it? Because I guarantee you Pam Bondi will hold them accountable and make these cases that she already has people arrested for. She's going to make an example out of them, and they're going to get stiff sentences for it, and they should get it, right? Because this enough is enough. And here's the funny part. I don't see her once redirecting any of her efforts to a great museum, which is now in Arlington, Texas, for the Medal of Honor Museum that's down there, or mentioning the Medal of Honor recipients, or even going down there herself and saying, hey, this is a great thing, I like it, and everything. No. She chooses to use her platform to further the divide between any common sense Democrats and Republicans. That's what she's doing. She's trying to get them over to the side with them, with AOC, with Bernie. And I know it must have killed Bernie Sanders to get on there and say that he agreed with he thinks the president's doing a great job at the border, but everything else you can't stand him for. They will fight this president every step of the way. Anything they can do, they're going to do it to him.
So you're a cop. You have to go out there. I mean, not now, but you spent your career as a cop. You have to go out there and police speech, that's crossing the line. And so whenever she says she supports the Take Down Tesla movement, she was on a video call, like a group call with the Take Down Tesla movement. In fact, there's a website I was reading up on it, TeslaTakedown.com. Now, if she says that she supports taking down Tesla, I can see why she wouldn't be held liable for the people who yesterday or the day before or last week were setting fire to Tesla cars. You can't make the direct connection. Well, she told them to do it. They went and did it. So she went and incited violence. But if she's talking about this specific protest movement that's going to happen on a specific day, and there's a little bit of organization here too. There is an official website. There is a hierarchy. There is, like I said, organization to it. And these people go and commit acts of violence or acts of vandalism. Can she be held criminally liable for inciting those criminal actions?
And that's kind of tough because she's going to say it's a generality that she's saying. And as you said, just innuendo. She really doesn't mean that. Yet if somebody gets hurt, if somebody, gets hurt during the fires or the firemen get hurt putting out these fires, And people have to realize that that's a very high risk for firemen as it is because of the batteries that are inside these cars. All right, it's a very dangerous thing, and I think that should raise this to another level. But between her, AOC, and when you see these little groups that go around the whole country, and it energizes the crazies that they have that can turn around and say, hey, they really want us. They're saying it's okay to do it. Let's go out there. Let's burn a dealership down. Let's go key somebody. Let's write Nazi or put SWAT stickers on the cars. All right. And some of these car owners just happen to be, Jewish. All right. So it's not a coincidence that way. And that right there is hate speech. So she can sugarcoat it all she wants. She's putting them out there to do the damage, and then she's going to sit back and say, hey, I never said that, but you know what? People have a right to, free speech. I don't agree with burning the cars down, but you know what? People are inside, and she still sugarcoats it instead of just saying enough is enough. If you don't like Elon Musk, don't buy his cars, all right? If you want to do a protest in front of one of his places, do a peaceful protest. But the second that changes from peaceful to anything else, action should be taken.
All right, retired lieutenant from the NYPD, Joe Cardinale, is your political aspirations, has there been any movement on your next run for office?
I tell you the truth, every time I see this and I see what's going on in Albany, there's always room for improvement, and if we can improve it later on down the road, we'll see what happens. But, it's a couple of years off. In the meantime, I still stay involved in everything, and this is the reason why, because you can't back up now. You have to move forward. Everything is going according to schedule for, getting the country back in order. And, we're going to have the arguments over tariffs and everything. We'll see what happens. But, I love the direction our country's going in right now.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the James Show again. I hope to see you on TV soon as well. Joe Cardinale. Coming up next, we'll talk to Jim Varney from Real Clear Politics. And how is all this working out in the polls? All these attacks, all this negative media time, all this vitriol, all these protests. Is it working? Well, you'll find out from my next guest, Jim Varney from Real Clear Politics on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, I don't know if you've seen a Tesla burning with your own eyes, but definitely you've seen it scrolling through your phone or on the news or whatnot. And I don't know if you've actually had your street blocked for the protest, but you've seen that in downtown Dallas here almost every weekend. Since inauguration, there's been a protest for something. They'll come up with something. Either it's the rainbow flag protest, or it's the deportation protest, or it's the pro-Palestinian protest. I mean, they just swap out the foam core signs during the week, and it seems to be the same people. Just whatever the grievances of the week. What are we protesting this week? Well, some of it's gotten a little out of hand. You know, none of us like blocking highways or blocking airports or otherwise impeding traffic. But, you know, the idea of keying Teslas and spray painting swastikas on other people's cars and chucking a Molotov cocktail in someone's pickup, that's crossing a big line there. The question is it working? Well, who better to ask than someone from Real Clear Politics? James Varney's back on, and it seems to be, you know, they're trying real hard to show the world that they're upset and you need to be upset too, but I don't think their anger is catching on, Jim.
Well, it's hard to say, right? Like, they love to talk about how we're going to drive down the stock price, but it's my understanding the stock price is a lot higher than it was a year ago at this time. So that doesn't seem to be very successful. I think that they do have, you know, you mentioned the Molotov cocktail, and you heard about that website that supposedly came and identified everybody, and I guess the cursor on it was a Molotov cocktail. I didn't go to the website myself. I don't own a Tesla. But I think the whole thing is indicative of two things. One is how quickly they seem to be willing to escalate and sort of condone violence. You're Crockett, as a Texan congressperson, that doesn't seem to be too shy about advocating for that. And then the second thing is that I don't know if Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, but anything that Trump does, they reflexively oppose. So you take a guy like Musk, who was, 3-4 years ago, a hero to these people. EVs are supposed to be the future. They're supposed to be the most important tool to get us to this net zero future. And now he's the devil. It's a remarkable turnaround. And it just shows that it's whatever Trump likes, they hate.
Well, the concern that I think they should have is there's a lot of moderate people on Team Blue who, I don't know, maybe they just support abortion or welfare, or they haven't put a whole lot of thought into it. But for the people that are actually peaceful, they don't like seeing things set on fire. Doesn't this cause a divide within Team Blue?
You would think, or you would hope that it might. As far as I can tell, though, what's happening with the Democrats is that Schumer's worried about getting primaried by AOC. And I've seen stories in Democratic organs talking about how the Democratic base is not as happy with the Democrats in Congress as they usually are. Apparently, traditionally Republicans have a lower opinion of their representatives in Washington than Democrats do. That's not true anymore. And I think it's a little worrisome that we don't see any of the Democratic leaders trying to pull the party to the center. They remain enthralled to the left wing, and it's pushing them in the direction that you're talking about. So I don't know if it is causing a divide within the Democratic Party, but the side that you would think would be offended or reject these type of things doesn't seem to be very vocal to me.
Well, we see the Democrat Party, their approval rating at historic lows, but below 30% now. So at least in the near term, it doesn't seem to be working. I find it hard to imagine those polls stay that low for that long, because I figure by the midterms, someone will have whipped up a little of enthusiasm, or at least, having a year and a half of steady drumbeat negative news could get those numbers up for them.
Well, they're definitely going to have the steady drumbeat of negative news in all of their organs and online sources and things like that, because that's their bread and butter. And look, I don't know what did you say the number was now? It's under 37%.
Well, I saw one at 29. The lowest I saw was 24, but it was an outlier and doesn't even seem believable. So I'll rest with the 29.
30. All right,
because that was the Gallup number.
Okay, they're not going to get 30 at the voting booth. They're going to do better than that. I mean, they almost both sides seem to have more than 40% baked in. So, yeah, I don't think that 30% is going to make too much difference come the midterms. I would expect it to be a nail biter.
Well, you sound kind of a little wishy-washy like me. Like, I'm not sure if there's necessarily a divide in the Team Blue voting ranks as much as we're just seeing the painful transition, because AOC does more closely represent what I know it's anecdotal, but my Democrat friends on the street that I actually have close relationships with, they all sound far more like AOC than a Chuck Schumer. And they don't like the same thing that Republicans don't like about rhinos, is all the compromising and giving up so easily when you could have fought a little bit harder and actually stood on the principles. AOC seems a little more principled than the Chuck Schumer. So I can see why my Democrat friends would like her better.
I guess, but I mean, what's that built on, James? I don't see Congress doing much to try and codify Trump's agenda or to advance Trump's agenda. This all seems to be stemming from that one continuing resolution to keep the government open. I mean, I don't see a bunch of initiatives that the Republican majority is pushing through Congress or trying to get through Congress. So I don't know exactly what it is that the Democrats have supposedly caved on. I don't see a lot in the House or the Senate for them to fight against, and they're just letting their judiciary friends handle it for them.
Well, he's not running around calling them Nazis and literally Hitler and
I don't dispute
Hot Wheels.
I don't dispute the way you characterize it. I'm just saying that I look at that too, and I'm like, what is it that you guys think that they've caved on? Because I don't see that much other than, like I said, that budget thing that Congress has done.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate your work over at Real Clear Politics, Real Clear Investigations, and thank you for your time being on the James Show. This is James Varney. You can find him online, and some of your articles are really long, so if you might want to take a good 10, 15 minutes of reading time. Next time you're in the handicap stall, remember James Varney. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate the plug.
That's a great plug, isn't it? Now, I'm asking you the same thing I asked James Varney. Do you think they're helping their cause, or do you think they're hurting their cause more than they're helping? Do you think that this rhetoric, calling your governor Hot Wheels, do you think that's a good look for him? Do you think setting cars on fire is a good look? Do you think blocking the street constantly is a good look? Throwing around Hitler and Nazi and all these terrible terms? Because I have a feeling that I hear from a lot of people that they think this is backfiring. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Tonight is the next James Show listener meetup. It's going to be at the Plano Sports Tavern. Where's that, James? It's in Plano. Ask your phone. We'll be there at 7 o'clock. It's the corner of Parker and Custer. Just ask your phone. They know where it's at. All right, coming up next, your thoughts. Is this helping more than it's hurting on the James Show? News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The Congresswoman whose district I am sitting in right now, the mothership here for WBAP, KLIF, the ticket, and the country stations here. We are in Jasmine Crockett's district, and so this is something that it's kind of fun to see a bunch of attention being paid to your own backyard, but I don't know if this is under the right circumstances. You know, she's already been under fire for the Tesla takedown comments and for the punch and Ted Cruz comments, and it sounds like she's calling for violence against Tesla or whatever. But today, it's the number one trending story the entire time the James Show has been on, and for about 4 hours before that, her words about your governor, Greg Abbott. She called him Hot Wheels. Here's the clip that has everyone talking right now.
Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
So she has followed that up with a post that happened about not even an hour ago, where she was saying, listen, I wasn't saying that about his condition. I was saying that about all the migrants he was deporting up to sanctuary cities. Yeah, all the planes, trains, and automobiles. Yeah, that's the ticket. That's the wheels I was talking about. I would never make fun of someone for having a disability. You buy that? 800-288-9227. AJ in Colleyville, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Don't buy it at all. I mean, I think the American people are too intelligent for this at this point. They've seen lies and hypocrisy nonstop from that side and from Ms. Crockett. We saw them make fun of Elon for being on the spectrum. We saw them, not stand for a child with brain cancer. We saw them just in every way, doing things that are opposite of their beliefs. They call Melania, they make fun of Melania for being a foreigner, but yet, the Republicans are xenophobic. If it suits them, it works. She was making fun of the disabled. It was obvious. They're supposed to be the champions and the tolerant, and they're not. And if you'd like some breaking news, she actually assaulted one of Laura Loomer's citizen journalists today.
Yeah, I saw someone mention that in another comment, but I don't know the backstory. What is that, AJ?
Basically, he was walking up to her, trying to question her about exactly what we're discussing. Actually, he was questioning her about the violent rhetoric toward Tesla. So it's a lot to keep up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was ignoring him, kind of talking to somebody walking, and then you can see her just violently and aggressively grab her, hits the phone out of his hands. I'm told that her nails dug into his hands. He's gone to the police and filed an assault charge at this point. So something needs to be done. I mean, we're allowing at this point a political elite ruling class to assault us, to take away our rights, to steal our money and use it for corrupt reasons. And I think it's being exposed, and I think you're seeing them lash out as a result.
All right. I get called crazy for this, and you feel free to call me crazy, but I have a sliver of hope for Jasmine Crockett. She sounds like one of these people who is going to eventually convert over to our side, like we saw Donald Trump do, like we saw Elon Musk do, like we saw Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Rogan and RFK, because she's never actually arguing against what you and I believe, AJ. She's creating this straw man and then beating the snot out of it with some incendiary rhetoric. But I don't think she's stupid. I don't think she actually believes what Team Blue believes. I think she's very smartly using her language to gather herself a whole lot of power. And one day she's going to want more than that. One day she's going to want some sort of meaning out of her life rather than just being the person who can win elections, actually do some good in the world. And part of me thinks that she's one of these people that's convertible.
I absolutely hope you're right. It could be that she's just trying to be provocative right now to gain a larger audience and kind of gain more power, to your point. I tend to think that these days, most of these politicians are just trying to create personal wealth and gain for themselves. There's a lot of, insider stock trading tips that are traded over cocktails on the Hill in Washington, D.C. I think that Jasmine Crockett and AOC are probably two that are are going to take advantage of that. I don't have any proof or evidence at this point, but I mean, we certainly see their net worths grow a lot faster than their salaries would indicate. I hope you're right. I don't think so. I think she'll go wherever the money leads her. I think, unfortunately, most of the politicians are that way at this point. But if she could convert, that would be fantastic. I do want to point out there's another option in Sheldon Daniels for Congress down there as well.
You know what? That's one thing we're going to keep a close eye on is Jasmine Crockett's primary and then her final race there. Thanks for the backstory on the Loomer situation. I had seen a comment and I was refraining from saying anything about it because I didn't do all the clicking through the links there.
Yeah, you're doing a live show. No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir. But boy, that text, that tweet she put out about an hour ago. No, I wasn't talking about his wheelchair. I was talking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he was using to take migrants to sanctuary cities. Did they take a train? I thought they just flew him up there. I figured maybe there's an automobile from the airport to whatever detention facility, or when they dropped them off in Nantucket. That was buses. Or no, that was Martha's Vineyard. That was I remember they dropped them off on buses. I don't know if they even use trains out there. That just seemed like a very convenient excuse. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Dr. Al Johnson about your allergies. It's now allergy season. How bad's it going to be, and what can you do about it? We'll talk about it next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, homeowners out there, you think you can fix just about anything? We've all turned into Bob Vila in the modern time. Something goes wrong with your house. Oh, I'll just watch a few YouTube videos and then make a couple trips to Home Depot and I'll figure it out. Well, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. You probably shouldn't test out your handyman skills on something as vital as your roof, because you might get it right. You might save yourself a couple bucks. But if you get it wrong, you could cost yourself thousands of dollars. We're talking about having to redo sheetrock. We're talking about mold remediation. We're talking about, water damage and replacing appliances and maybe electrical issues. The roof is not something you play with. The roof is not something you just Google and figure out, well, who's going to come up at the top of the listings. The roof is so important. You have to go with someone you trust. You're not going to call a sign out of someone's yard. You're not going to ask your phone. You're going to go to blueribbondfw.com because you've been hearing about them for years around here, and there's a reason for that. They've been in North Texas for 31 years, and they're a family company. It's not some franchise of some national corporation that doesn't know a mesquite from a Keller. The Hopkins have been here. John and Tish started this themselves. It was a husband-wife team. Their grown son, Trevor's now in the business, and they will be personally involved in the day-to-day operations and make sure that their crews live up to the blueribbondfw.com heritage. So go to blueribbondfw.com and don't just trust me. Go read through the hundreds of 5-star reviews. There's a reason they've been in business for 31 years. There's a reason why they're on the Casey Bartholomew show, and they're on our Friends the Tickets, and they've been on WBAP for years. And you know how many negative calls we've gotten about Blue Ribbon Roofing? 0. So go to blueribbondfw.com. Mention you heard it on the James Show. Get a free ridge vent ventilation upgrade. It's probably something you should have already, but you can get it on the house if you go to blueribbondfw.com. Get that literally? You get it on the house? See what I did there? blueribbondfw.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. It's allergy season. How you doing out there? You stopped up yet? Miss Parker was a little stopped up. I don't know if that was necessarily her allergies or if she had something else, but I'm a guy who minorly suffers from allergies. I'll explain myself. My next guest is Dr. Al Johnson, who knows a little bit more about allergies than the average bear, seeing as how it's part of his job being a doctor. But Dr. Al, I am snotty. I am stopped up for 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall. And usually I just take some Benadryl or some Zyrtec and just deal with it. Is there anything else I should be doing or could be doing?
There definitely is. What you have is seasonal allergies. So in the spring, there's grasses and trees. In the fall, there's weeds and trees. And then there's mold all year long. And those people who don't like to be clogged up can get on allergy immunotherapy. That's allergy shots. But when you only have it for a couple of weeks, then pre-treating yourself before you go outside with the antihistamines makes sense. And driving with your windows up, recirculated air will help reduce your exposure.
Oh, I never heard about that. See, I like to drive with my windows down if I have my dog with me because he always sticks his head out. Am I really doing myself a little bit of harm there?
Well, you're making your allergies worse. There are studies that show if you ride in a convertible with the top down, that you're exposed 10,000 times more to pollen than if you keep your windows rolled up and recirculating air.
Yeah, I guess so. And not only are you getting it, but it's getting rammed in your nose at 60 miles an hour. Is there a preference on antihistamines? Because I know Benadryl works, but it makes me sleepy. I know Zyrtec works, but it doesn't make me sleepy. Do I have that right?
Yeah, there's some that cross the blood-brain barrier like Benadryl, and some people it makes sleepy, some people will hype up. So you just got to find which one works the best for you. Zyrtec is kind of one of the non-sleepy ones. Claritin, lortetidine is one of the non-sleepy ones. They all don't work for everyone.
Does it help if I sleep with my back elevated? Because that's what Miss Parker does. She puts a bunch of pillows up and sleeps on the headboard sitting up. She swears that helps. I think it helps if I kind of have my head tilted almost backwards because I'm so flat.
Well, it depends which way your sinuses drain. But yes, they drain better in the upright position than flat on your back. So generally sitting up gives you better nasal opening and drainage. You can use nasal sprays. There's some antihistamine nasal sprays.
I don't do those.
There's some steroid nasal sprays. And then to the point of keeping yourself clean, use nasal saline, the non-preservative nasal saline, at least twice a day to rinse your nose out. You wash the dirt off your body, you need to rinse it out of your nose.
You know, that's probably good advice. I'm not doing that. I like those people that do the neti pots where they pour the water in their nose. I've tried that before, and it's just too weird. Do you mind if I just take a pass on that one, Dr. Al?
Well, no, you get the Arm & Hammer or something similar that's in the pressurized can of saline that just sprays a little mist up there. And that's a lot more comfortable, doesn't burn, and rinses your nose out.
All right, Dr. Al, real quick, we're about out of time here. How bad does it have to be before you recommend someone gets the help of an allergy doctor?
Well, if you're miserable, you can't think, you're having trouble functioning, then yes, you need to see the allergy doctor.
All right, Dr. Al Johnson, Doctor of Internal Medicine, appreciate your time on the James Show. How do they find you online?
Stay healthy.
All right, thank you, sir. Coming up next, whatever happened to the measles outbreak? Speaking of health, well, I have an update for you. It's bigger than ever. Find out how bad next on the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Whatever happened to the measles outbreak in Texas? Did it go away? Are we all healed now? Are we all back to normal? Or are the cases higher than it's ever been? It's higher than it's ever been, just so you know. Why isn't it a bigger story? I don't know. You would think if a measles outbreak that reached 100 people would be top news. We had to talk about it for a week. When it reaches over 400, wouldn't that be 4 times the story? Yeah, I don't have an explanation on the weird reporting fact pattern around this. And I got doubly thrown for a loop because I was reading the Dallas Morning News story on this yesterday. And whenever you get into something that overlaps with politics, your skepticism antennas should be going up. And so when I was reading through this, I noticed something. The people who were being interviewed, the parents of the daughter who died, they gave some of their answers in English, but for some of the answers, they spoke through an interpreter. And I thought, ooh, an interpreter? Holy, what? But they're Mennonites. So in Texas, usually if you need an interpreter, it's almost, guaranteed to be someone who speaks Spanish. And for someone who's, just hanging out in the desert in West Texas, you would think that that's probably a Spanish interpreter. But somewhere in the story, or I should say nowhere in the story, do they tell you what language it is interpreted from? And so I thought, well, that's kind of sneaky. Why won't you tell us what language they're speaking? Why would you leave that out of the story? Well, through an interpreter, they started speaking. In what language? Because that would sort of, to fill out the story a little bit more. Because one of the obvious political overlaps with this is immigration. There's the anti-vax angle. There's the sort of RFK, Make America Healthy Again, where we question the vaccine schedules. And that's been the weird overlap because, RFK on Team Blue, but, a lot of people on Team Red like this. And you may have seen people like, I don't know, Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy and all these other people who are very much Team Blue be anti-vaccine as well. So it's been a weird horseshoe overlap on the political spectrum, the anti-vax crowd. And so any details, can we please help clear this up? Because if it is Spanish, that's kind of devious that you're leaving it out because, oh, I see why you're doing it. You don't want to attach this negative stigma of previously eradicated communicable diseases be attached to what? Illegal immigration. That would not help your narrative. Is that why they're doing it? Actually, no. The translator was for German. German? Yeah, German. So I've spent zero time hanging out with Mennonite people or Amish people or anything in between. The bulk of my knowledge of what it means to be Mennonite in modern times comes from Dwight Schrute on The Office. Isn't that what he was? Wasn't he like, because I know he spoke German. He and his cousins, when they went back and they visited the beet farm, he tricked Angela into marrying him because he was just showing them the place as a spot to have the wedding. And the guy went up back there and did that German thing. You know what German sounds like? Sounds like someone's speaking English, but backwards, Siegen, Seifen, Alfen, Seifen, Freien. And so it turns out, oh, wow, cool. Dwight Schrute, his family speaks German at home. And they were sort of like a weird Mennonite. So this is the situation we're in. Well, where did these German-speaking Mennonites come from that they ended up way off in the kind of West Texas, at the bottom of the panhandle? That's not normal, is it? Because then the question still remains, well, how did these German half Amish people, I say they're half Amish because they're not full-blown Amish. The guy's wearing like a baseball hat and, normal clothes. He didn't have a big Abraham Lincoln-looking beard. So he's just over by somewhere outside of Seminole, if you know where that's at. So then the question still comes, well, how did this incredibly isolated community, how are they introduced to this? Granted, even if the situation on the ground remains that, well, they're unvaccinated and that's why that they got the measles and that's why they have this problem and so many other communities around Texas do not. And, it cost them their daughter's life and they're standing firm on that. But where did it get introduced to the Mennonite community? Could that be from an illegal alien? Are we allowed to ask that question? Do the reporters ask that question? Do they get anywhere near it? No, they don't. So the measles outbreak in Texas, for some reason, the coverage has dropped quite a bit. Now, there's still some stories here and there, but it wasn't as big as it was a couple weeks ago. And then you just add this weird twist to where they just have no interest in the origin of this measles outbreak. And compare that to the coronavirus. Weren't we all concerned? Where did this come from? Did it come from the lab? Did it come from a wet market? Was it gain of function research? Did it slip out? Was it an intentional release? Is this a bioweapon here? We just have no concern. Yep, measles just manifested itself out of the sky and landed on these German-speaking Mennonites outside of Seminole, Texas. Certainly didn't come from, the international community having unfettered access across an international border. That's for sure. So I don't really have any just and final conclusions for you on this story. Just kind of keeping you updated on some really suspicious reporting floating all around it. It's just measles. What are y'all scared of? We can't go get the truth. We can't go get to the bottom of this mystery. Coming up next, we'll talk to Laura Reese from the Heritage Foundation about what's going on with the deportation flights, illegal immigration, and some statements Tom Homan, the border czar, has been making. But if you have any theories on the strange reporting around this measles situation, I'd love to hear from you. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Are these deportation flights legal? It seems to depend on who you talk to and what their previous political persuasion was on what answer they'll give you on that. So let's ask Laura Reese from the Heritage Foundation coming back on the James Show. Welcome back. Is there any truth to the complaint that deporting illegal immigrants in this manner is not constitutional?
Well, good afternoon. If we're talking about the flights to El Salvador with Trinidad Agua, that came after President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act, specifically to Trinidad Agua. And in addition to that, he had designated that gang as a terrorist organization. And so what the Alien Enemies Act allows for, and it is current law, it doesn't matter how old it is, our Constitution is older, Congress passed it, President signed it, it allows when there's an invasion or predatory incursion that aliens from that hostile nation can be summarily apprehended, restrained, and removed. And so under the law, such flights are allowed.
Well, that sounds like it makes sense. It sounds like a pretty useful law. How come it hasn't been used more?
Good question. There are various laws that hadn't been used before that Donald Trump was the first to use. Another example is the Remain in Mexico program, which is well known and very effective. And so he is willing to scour the U.S. code to come up with tools to enforce the law. And in this case, deal with millions of illegal aliens who were here before Biden, and an additional 11 million that came in during Biden's 4 years to thoroughly enforce the laws as Americans voted for.
Well, I have another discussion that's being had on social media right now that probably has a lot of gray area in it, is how many people are saying that Trump has created a constitutional crisis because a judge ordered him to turn the flights around and he ignored the judge's rules. And if the president's going to ignore the judge's rules, then we just have chaos. And then the other side of that argument is this is a judge who doesn't have any standing. His court wasn't open. He wasn't the emergency judge on call. And so he just magically jumped the line on a Saturday and tried to stop these deportations without a proper hearing or anything. And I don't know who to believe on that one. Who's right? Does the judge who ordered the flights to be turned around, was that a legit ruling? Does he have standing?
I don't know regarding the standing issue, but what is a judicial question is, and will be examined, is the Alien Enemies Act. Was an invasion or predatory incursion, did that occur? And is Trinidad Agua inextricably intertwined with the Maduro regime in Venezuela, because the law, the AEA, requires that the act is done by a foreign nation or government? Those are two legitimate questions for the court, and those are novel issues. But what's been going on with this judge is about injunctions and temporary restraining orders, and him demanding details about who was on the plane, how many, timing, etc. And I believe he has gone way out of his Article 3 court lane into Article 2 presidential authority lane over foreign affairs, national security, and immigration.
Where's the role of Congress in all this?
Well, separation of powers, and they're supposed to be co-equal branches. So the lower courts, so that's both district court judges as well as appellate level courts, were created by Congress. Only the Supreme Court is mentioned in the U.S. Constitution. So Congress has the authority to limit jurisdiction, to require 3-judge panels, or to state that no, a single federal district judge does not have authority to declare nationwide injunctions, et cetera, et cetera. Congress can defund courts, including impeachment. So there are a number of options on the table.
All right. Interesting stuff. I can't wait to see where all these cases end up. Laura Reese from the Heritage Foundation, I appreciate your expertise on the James Show.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. All right. My next story is kind of a disturbing one. There were 3 siblings here in Texas. They're in the Houston area. They're 14, 15, 16. Apparently they really love their smartphones. They really love the internet. I don't know if it's online gaming or social media, but they got so mad when their mom turned off their Wi-Fi and refused to turn it back on. They tried to kill her. That story's coming up next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So if you have young kids now, you're probably going to feel a little bit closer to this story because I didn't grow up with cell phones. I mean, people had them when I was a kid, but they were still expensive. And unless you were like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air running around with a big old Acme brick next to your head. So I didn't have this problem growing up. You probably didn't either. But boy, my kids treat cell phones like it's crack. They treat it like Hunter Biden treats crack. Like they just can't live without it. And they got to sneak it and they lie to you about it. And like we have a rule in my house, before you go to bed, we all have to turn in our cell phones and put them on the charger in the living room. We have like a little space for a little side table there where the charger's at. And they'll get up in the middle of the night and they'll go get their phone and we'll catch them on it. And I have to keep telling them, dude, it's not crack. You can live without it for a few hours. And so it's not just the cell phones, though. It's just the outside world has so many tentacles in our children through the internet. Another big one is online gaming. You want to destroy your kid's life? Just give them a cell phone, but it doesn't have access to the outside world. Just let them have their Xbox, but it doesn't have access to the outside world. And all of a sudden, you can't go online anymore. They will flip out. Well, apparently, there are some kids even more inured in the system than mine. We go down I-45 to our neighbors in Houston. There's 3 siblings, ages 14, 15, and 16. And apparently they were not behaving well enough to keep their mom happy, so mom decided as a way to punish them that she was going to cut off the Wi-Fi. There's no mention of where dad is. Shocker. But grandmother was in the house too at the time. And so mom's trying to be the disciplinarian, cut it off, punish the kids, show them that there is a world without being attached to the internet. And the kids didn't take it very well. They got upset. They started screaming. They started fussing. They started making all kinds of threats. They started throwing stuff. And then they started getting violent. They started attacking their mom. Grandmother tried to intervene. They knocked her over, hit their mom with a brick. And so then mom flees. Mom runs outside of the house, away from the kids who were chasing her. She gets away from them. She gets on her phone, which still works, calls the cops. When the cops get there, they see the mom still trying to avoid her kids, and they had chased her into the street with kitchen knives. Excuse me, let me say that. They're age 14, 15, and 16. They were chasing their mom in the street with kitchen knives when the police showed up. We're not going to get a whole lot of information on this because these are minors, and rightfully so. But oh my God, I thought my kids were addicted to the internet. You know, there's a strong parallel. I only mean that half jokingly about how it's not crack. Because it doesn't behave a whole lot different than crack. Crack is something that if you're bored, you smoke it, you're not bored anymore. Your cell phone is something that if you toss it to a 15-year-old kid and they're bored, they're not going to be bored anymore. So it's something that if you have this uneasy feeling of being bored and you're not used to it, and you haven't had to spend a whole lot of time dealing with that and figuring out your brain chemistry and how it's supposed to operate and keep you happy without the constant dopamine hit where you just got to get a little, ooh, there's a little dopamine there. And let me flip to the next TikTok video. Ooh, there's a little dopamine hit there. Ooh, I got a text from my friend. Ooh, look at the picture she sent me. Ooh, there's another little dopamine hit. And without this constant beeping and blinking and crazy videos and funny stuff and loud music, and some kids have not been able to adjust to the real world without it. Now, you probably did better with your kids. I'm not doing great with my kids, but I'm doing better than these. This woman almost got killed by her own children. Can you imagine this is like Basketball Diaries level stuff. This is like Train Spotting level addiction, where you would kill your own mother because she cut off the Wi-Fi. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. What is this? Ellis in New York As in like New York City?
That's me, and I'm so embarrassed for the city of Dallas. Honestly, like what? It's either what happened to Texas? I mean, you guys are sending two of the worst Congress people to Washington D.C. Jasmine Crockett and Al Green. Like, what is happening? Honestly, what is? She had the audacity. This is what I think is happening. The Democrat machine is either stealing elections. That's the only way someone like that could get elected. Or B, the gays. It's got to be the gays, or they're stealing the election.
No,
right?
it's neither one of those. Here's the ugly truth here, Ellis. I think Jasmine Crockett. I think Jasmine Crockett and Al Green are actually a pretty spot on representation of the voting bloc in their district.
What happened?
Well, you don't believe that stuff,
honestly,
but there are a lot of
what's in
people.
the water?
Well, listen, there are a lot of people.
She went on stage at an HRC gala and belittled
Human Rights
one of the
Commission.
best
Listen, I'm
governors.
just kind of out of time for this segment, but let me explain to you. Just because I don't believe that, you don't believe that, Garrett doesn't believe that, and Casey Bartholomew, Mark Levin, they don't believe that. There are millions of people who think this is an incredibly inherently racist country that's based on white supremacy and based on the power structures of, I don't know, the antebellum Confederacy or something. There are people who believe that. And if you are in especially a bubble like this, if you're in a dense urban area and you never really get to travel out into the hinterlands, you only know about the outside world, what you see on TV. And all of it is a steady diet of white racism and black people are oppressed or women are oppressed or some disabilities oppressed or some sexual orientations oppressed. And there's people who believe it. And that's just one of the downfalls of democracy, period, is you get the government you vote for. And if you vote for a bad government, you're going to get that too. If you vote for the wrong policies or a misinterpreted worldview, you're going to get it. You're going to get it good and hard, Ellis. Thanks for listening up in New York. That's kind of cool. We give New York a lot of grief, but I think that might be like the first call we've gotten on the James Show from New York City. Don't tell anybody. All right, coming up next, speaking of the addictive nature of Wi-Fi, we'll talk to a mental health expert on the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I was just referencing the story out of the Houston area where 3 children were so addicted to being online that they tried to kill their mother when she shut off the Wi-Fi. Maybe my next guest can explain some of what seems to be a mental health shortcoming. It's mental health expert Dr. Brad Schwal. Thanks for being on the James Show. I don't know if you've heard that story yet, but my kids aren't too far off. When I take away their phones and I cut them off, especially after they've been on it for a couple hours, they go kind of nuts. I mean, how addicted is this new generation to social media and online gaming and everything internet?
Well, they are, and I do say that we are the examples and we're the role models. So I guess we do have to ask ourselves, what if somebody took away our social media? But certainly kids have gotten so used to interacting in that way, and adults as well. And in the end, it's not so social. And then one other key problem is that we're missing that face-to-face interaction, which leads to better reality checking. And so there's been some research that has come out that shows that there is a correlation and there are concerns about self-delusion or about paranoia that also can come when the main interaction we have is with social media.
So where does the self-delusion and paranoia come from?
Well, there are researchers in Canada who did a meta-analysis, and that means that they studied a lot of different studies, and they are raising the concern that use of social media can exacerbate eating disorders, how people view their bodies. There is evidence that there is concern about the fact that those who do experience paranoia or are anxious about potential social monitoring, that social media can exacerbate those symptoms. Narcissism, by the way, narcissism is a diagnosis. We don't think of it just as somebody who just boasts a lot or likes to think about themselves, but certainly the ability to create this image that is not based on reality can exacerbate those types of symptoms and behavior. So it's interesting research.
How do I minimize these effects on my children?
On your kids, we need to recognize that their phones are our devices, not their devices. We should not be letting our kids be on social media, in essence, until high school. I know that's tough because there's many a 5th grader or a 6th grader who may be on social media, but we need to set some limits. So we create a structure that does prevent our kids from getting too sucked into it. And then what also is key is open communication. So we're always checking in on what our kids are seeing, what they're experiencing. We talk to them as people who are wise and have good observations, because kids, when they are treated in that way, want to live up to it. So our therapists at the center, and I lead, as you said, the Center for Integrative Counseling, when they are providing therapy and supporting kids, they are absolutely talking to parents about limits that need to be set. And then the therapist also can be liaisons with the parents. We want kids to be open to their parents, but we also, in working with the family, try to open up conversation, because when we're out of tune with our kids, then they go down rabbit holes that really can lead to dark places.
All right, Dr. Brad Schwal, you can find him online. He's a local mental health expert, thecentercounseling.org. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right. A couple things coming up. Number one, the next James Show listener meetup is happening tonight, 7 p.m., Plano Sports Tavern. Come on out there. We'll hang out for a couple hours. And I'm giving away a couple of door prizes there. It doesn't cost nothing to get in, but I got some tickets or whatever. One of them is going to be a WBAP throwback CD from 2001, The Best of the Fun Guys, with old WBAP bits, including Sam from Sales. Also, WeatherCon is now on the radar, and it's being sponsored by our friends at Blue Ribbon Roofing. So 2025 WeatherCon is happening Saturday, April 26th. That's over at the Frontiers of Flight Museum next to Love Field from 9:30 a.m. till 1:30 p.m. It was a great time last year. come on out and hang out again. Or if you missed it last year, it's a bunch of cool stuff. I'll be in front of the what is that? The Apollo capsule. That's a pretty cool setup. I'd never been to that museum before. It was worth going just to see the museum. But Blue Ribbon Roofing's 2025 WeatherCon. More details at WBAP.com. All right, I'm James Parker. I'll see you in a couple hours at Plano Sports Tavern. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.